Are we live?
We are live. GM. Welcome to episode 2 of Lumia Live. What's going on, Mark? How you doing?
Yo. Happy to be back. We running it back. We're running it back this Friday. We got some new faces here today with us. So, Eva, you want
Hello,
to come to
hello.
the
Yeah,
screen
good
real
morning to
quick and
everybody
say
who's
hey?
watching. I'm super excited to be here today and excited to learn about speaking.
Yep. And then just from the team, real quick, we have Wilson and Bradley. And then as you can see at the bottom right of the screen, we have Cal. He's back here. You guys loved him on the last show, so we decided to
Wow.
bring him back, have him come say a
He
couple
made it to
couple
episode
words.
2.
Right?
Yeah. Wow. Nice words. I
Mm-hmm.
Cut.
The one and only.
They
appreciate
said they
it.
wanted Cal back, so we're giving them Cal back.
Wow.
Give the
Okay.
people what they
Wow.
want.
A lot of pressure. Pressure makes diamonds, right? So let's do it.
Uh,
So guys, pleasure again to be here with you guys. Just wanted to discuss a bit about ecosystem and how we're looking at the ecosystem here at Lumia. So, when building a layer two, layer one, any kind of blockchain, there's always ecosystem dApps, right? And what we're doing with Lumia is kind of unique in that we are, standard blockchain just as other chains out there, but we also have this RWA angle to us that's deep within our core, right? So we look at Lumia chain as like a twofold approach, right? Where there's the normal ecosystem projects that everybody knows and loves, the dexes, the lending and borrowing, the launch pads, et cetera. But then there's also the regulatory heavy kind of projects, right? Like things that deal with a lot of government approvals. Actually, right now in DC, about to be in a meeting in about an hour and 45
I was gonna
minutes.
ask.
Yeah, with some regulators and some government folks and just really exciting times. But yeah, again, back to the ecosystem. The way we're looking at it is that like we can go super regulatory heavy with a lot of tokenization of real world assets, but then we also leave out like the Web3 folks, right? The crypto guys, like the guys that want to earn yield, the guys that want to trade, the guys that want to earn on their assets, right? So we really are taking this like I said twofold approach to the ecosystem. Obviously it takes time to get it right because we're basically working on two essential like different roads at the same time, right? um and with that said, when thinking of the regulatory side, obviously, myself and Yanush, we're working very hard on the regulatory side. I'm here in the US, he's over in UAE. We're hitting both sides. But when it comes to the actual ecosystem, the dApps and projects that everyone knows and loves, when we were setting out to go on this journey with Lumia, immediately immediately when I knew like look, we need to have a vibrant ecosystem, I knew there was one guy I needed to hit up right away. My real life best friend, my absolute soldier, brother in arms, Wilson Davis over here. He has quite an extensive background in building projects, helping good founders get to market. And right then and there, it was like an immediate, like, dude, we need to do this. And the same thing as Dennis. Same thing. As soon as we talked about the chain, I contacted Dennis. As soon as we talked about ecosystem, I contacted Wilson. And with that said, I know Wilson has a lot hooking up backstage with the rest of the team. A lot of different ecosystem dApps that are building on the chain. A lot of incubations, a lot of projects that we're supporting heavily. With that said, I'll pass the microphones to Wilson. But again, it's a pleasure to speak with you guys. Sorry I have to cut it short again today, but certainly on the next show, barring there's no government meetings, I'll definitely be there a bit longer. But again, I appreciate the time, guys, and having me on the show. Thank you so much for the love. And Mike's to Wilson. Thank you guys again.
Nah, no problem.
you
Thank
so
you,
Pleasure.
Cal.
All right,
Thank
guys.
you, man.
Bye bye.
Appreciate it,
Take
bro.
care. Bye bye. Bye bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Peace.
Bye.
Yeah, Cal always
Wilson.
makes time for ecosystem, so definitely such a great guy to have on our side. So I mean, yeah,
You good? No, you good? You good? Go ahead.
yeah, okay. So I'll go ahead and just kind of give a little bit of a background to like how I got started into Web3 and things like that, because it's an interesting journey, I think. So, well, I started at school, went to University of North Florida in Jacksonville. I know, Mark,
Florida?
you went
Oh
to
yeah,
school in Florida.
yeah. A couple hours south. Big
Uh-huh.
Gaines,
Yeah.
Vegas. Go
Good.
Gators.
Yeah. No rivalry between us because we don't even have a football team. So, yeah. But after that, so I majored in international business, was kind of focused on China relations, but kind of pivoted after. And so really, like after I graduated, my first start into TradFi was actually at Merrill Lynch, where I was like the back end, kind of like the phone a friend for financial advisors. So like when they would have a question about how to place a trade or how to do like anything when it comes to like the application itself, this is what they would call me, and like I would walk them through all the process of everything. So it was good. Like I got a lot of insights into how TradFi works, how like the systems are. I saw the good and the bad. So it's kind of like a situation where, you know, you see the ins and outs and you realize like, okay, like why is it so slow? Why are these things like, not really functioning like they kind of say they are? So it was a good experience. Really happy to have been in that role. And then pretty much I had a couple other roles within the banking industry. And well, in between that time, I moved to Miami. This is where I met Cal. And
Oh, you.
yeah, met Cal through friends of friends. And like he introduced me to crypto and his family. And obviously, his brother Nush as well, who's a co-founder.
Yeah.
Amazing family, amazing guys, and we literally became essentially family ever since then. And so couldn't have asked for better people to kind of intro me into crypto and know
Yeah.
all, like, because they have so much knowledge. And when I first heard like that he was into crypto, I was like, okay, interesting. Like I had invested into crypto like in 2016, but like a very, very small amount. And he was, telling me how he's, starting this new project, Orion, and all these things. And I was like, I didn't even know you could have like a career in blockchain and crypto. And then just after all the conversations and all the time together, it was very clear, like, okay, this is what I want to do. And really, like over time, I transitioned from banking. I was a co-founder of a borrowing lending protocol that did really well in its time. Then was also a member of incubator as a director. So we got to launch a bunch of projects. We got to help projects from idea all the way to market, which was really great. I think it was one of the key pieces of experience that I had to really help me in this role that I have now to have Lumia be like a huge ecosystem of dApps that are going to be coming live soon. So that's pretty much where we are now. So
And I have to say this because everybody that I've met, including Wilson, privately, like they've said the same thing is how great of a person Cal was, meeting him IRL and how well he's
yeah,
treated them. And
that's
I've
so
met
true.
I met like several different, people, all saying the same thing. So like when Wilson says this, like it just hits again,
Yeah.
speaks volumes of what type of person the Cal's family and Yanush and all of them are. So, but yeah,
Mhm.
nah, definitely really cool intro into crypto. And then I'm guessing that's how you were brought into Lumia too, is when you were
Yeah,
down.
yeah. Just Cal was starting this whole new vision, transitioning from Orion to the huge project of Lumia now, and he called me up to make it happen on my side. So happy to play my part to make everything happen. So, but yeah, enough about me. Let's move over to Bradley. Pleasure, man. You are our expert DeFi researcher, blockchain, everything. So pass the mic over to you.
Yeah, sure. I'll keep it short. So you'll notice I'm not from America. I'm across the pond. So raised in the UK, London. Web3 has been all I ever knew, really. Straight out of my master's degree, I went to work for SumSub. A lot of their clients were crypto, so immediate exposure on that end. I then moved to Russia in 2019, so my story took a bit of a weird turn. My wife is Russian, so I ended up getting massive exposure to the sort of Russian, Ukrainian crypto scene, which is absolutely huge. And that sort of was my university in crypto. Now I work with a range of different companies. Maybe some of those watching will know my videos from SumSub. We had a YouTube channel with 500,000 subscribers, and I'd sort of presented it and wrote all the scripts. I have long been one of the lead journalists for Cointelegraph, a name that a lot of you will know. Written over 1 million words that are published online about blockchain, Web3, Pragmata, etc. I also sit as a non-exec advisor for a range of different companies, from CoinsPage, cryptopressing.com, over to Symbiosis Finance. I'm also a marketing associate for Token 2049. A lot of people know that too. So I'm one of the Web3 researchers on the team at Lumia. I'm working with the team now it's coming up to probably a year soon. And I just love the idea of a singular ecosystem that's building for the RWA future. It's something I really believed in from an early stage. I went through a number of different startup ideas of things that we could really build into an ecosystem that was built on sort of RWA stack. And Lumia is just the perfect channel for it. I've been really proud to work with the system. So that's about it. And I'm going to give my take today on RWAs, why I think they're really important, and sort of some of the research elements too, some statistics, facts, and things that are going on in our world right now that we should really think about. So that's about it.
Hey, awesome. Yeah, it's always great hearing about everyone's unique journey into crypto. I feel like everyone has like an origin story, if you will, whether it starts as a degen trader, gambler, or investor, builder, or in this case, some more professional routes with a little bit of school of hard knocks along the way, whether that's getting tapped into the Russian crypto scene or VC incubation, which involves basically learning about every facet of a go-to-market and product building of projects, which is tough, right? It's not something that most people get exposure to throughout their experience in crypto. We have someone new joining us on our side.
Let you camera.
Good morning again to everybody. It was awesome to meet both of you and again to hear about your backgrounds. As Faded was saying, we all kind of start out in different ways. A lot of my audience are degen traders, but I think that they're really interested in learning about other areas of crypto to get involved in, and definitely RWAs. So I think I'm just really excited to be able to share that with them today.
Nice.
Yeah, awesome.
Nice. And Eva, just like a quick blurb on yourself, because a lot of the Lumia audience, just curious to know who all was on the call and where it came from. You don't have to tell your whole story, but like just story. Just like a bit more who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. I started trading crypto in 2017, so it's been a few years for me. I got crypto pilled, as they say. I got a little,
You could take the blue pill.
Yeah, literally. Just by Bitcoin. I think I was really interested by Bitcoin. I was really interested in swing trading stocks at the time. I had seen that Bitcoin was pumping. It caught my attention, and that was pretty much that. And I've been in crypto since then. Started making content a little bit more recently. It's been about a year now, which is a whole other world. So it's much different being a trader off the screen than a trader on the screen. And but I've loved it so far. It's really cool to be able to educate people, to introduce people to new concepts, and just to be here learning new things myself as well. So that's a little bit about me. I also have a bit of an artistic background with an indie game and development that I've been working on for a few years, but lately just focused on crypto content.
All right.
Yeah. To your point, we're always learning every day. Every single person, like we're always learning something new. So like it never stops.
Yeah, that's the beauty of crypto, is that there is always something new to learn every day. It's never boring.
Oh, no, sorry.
I think, and we've been talking about this a lot, especially here, is like, I think we have to find more sustainable ways of getting people into crypto. And I think building these like sort of packaged, productized, consumer friendly RWA ecosystems are kind of the perfect like pathway to do that, right? Where like, yes, we all love sort of, trading memes or just prediction market. I mean, I'm bullish on prediction markets too, but I, I think in many capacities, like a lot of the people that got into crypto through NFTs, and I find this often, right? Is like even if they did make money, if they eventually ended up losing a ton of money, or like there's just a lot of vaporware out there and stuff, eventually those people get turned off, right? And it's like it's not sustainable to like grow the width and depth of crypto. Like, yes, it's cool. It serves as a flywheel of getting people like interested, like like myself at one point. Like, oh wow, NFTs, like how this is really interesting. This makes sense, right? But then if they get burned on it, right, and it ends up, the smoke screen, if you will, kind of gets revealed, we end up losing those people, and then it gets really, really harder to get them to come back to crypto and to take it seriously. So I think it puts RWAs in particular at like a very interesting point of like, how can this actually benefit people, right? Like, how can this benefit your everyday person? Maybe your busy mom or your dad, or like maybe an older person or a student that's just getting out of uni that wants to get involved. So I think there's especially based off of what I've already like researched and looked into on the product side of things for Lumia, I'm really excited to learn more about how this is actually going to help bring in sort of this next wave of consumer crypto, if you will. I mean, I know that's such a cliche way of saying it, but
Well, I'd probably like to jump in here if it's all right, guys, because I think
Yeah,
a lot of our
jump
audience, they're probably not sure sort of what are RWAs. It's sort of a buzzword right now, but when you start to go through examples, things can get a bit fuzzy. So I think for our listeners, I'll just give a sort of brief overview, right? Now, RWAs are real world assets on chain, and the opportunities here are really limitless. A lot of people think real estate when they think RWAs, right? Imagine you've got a property like Lumia doing over with Sen Group in Turkey with Lumia Towers, right? You build a skyscraper and then you tokenize every single square meter of it. This is a really cool concept because anyone then from around the world, they can buy into this skyscraper and then earn passive income on yields. But it's not just real estate, which is very something that Lumia is focused on. You could do things like corporate and government bonds, right? T-bills. You've got precious metals, so commodities, right, including oil, natural gas, energy reserves. But then it also goes over to the sort of NFT side as well. You can also tokenize art and collectibles, but this is like watches, vintage cars, paintings. Imagine tokenizing a luxury car, right, in Las Vegas, and then you want to go there and someone wants to rent this car. You get a passive yield on your share of this luxury supercar, right? And it also extends to things like fine wines, whiskeys, aging assets, and even things like domain names that can increase in value. And the beautiful thing about RWAs is you don't need a kind of accredited investor status to just buy it. All you need is a smartphone. And you think about sort of the underbanked as well. You've got something like 1.4 billion people globally that are underbanked, so they're not sort of fully serviced by banks. And I think it's around 530 million of them use smartphones. So imagine you've got 1.4 billion people that basically don't use bank accounts, but 535 million people use smartphones. Well, then you think you've got this huge sort of disparate of people that could onboard to crypto and could be invested in different investment vehicles with very high yields, like a sort of Manhattan skyscraper, all from their phone in, say, rural Nigeria. So RWAs are this fantastic thing, and it's a trend word now. It's sort of started gaining traction last year when the technology was made possible. And now with Lumia, we're really looking at the first product that can unite all of the different ecosystem components needed to create one solid full stack chain. And it's magical. So I'd start with that intro, really.
Yeah, I think building something for the unbanked is huge, and those numbers are pretty compelling. I mean, 530 people are underbanked, who own smartphones. I mean, I know some of my audience might fit that. I would assume it's pretty exciting just to think about.
I recently saw, you never know with everything you see on the internet, whether it's actually real or not, even if it's in the media. But I recently saw, I think it was Argentina, or no, Venezuela.
Yeah, a lot of the South American
is pivoting to USDT as their national currency.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's
I'll
massive.
talk about that in a second, but
Yeah.
I just read that the other day. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Really? And it's because their local currency experiences so much volatility. Yeah.
With Venezuela, it's a long-term problem. I think their average annual inflation rate since the 1970s has been something like 3,500%, the average annual inflation rate. So imagine that you're trying to save for an apartment, right? You can't really. Of course, you can use crypto. And then imagine your crypto is just sitting there. What if it could earn yield? And then you're thinking about things like tokenized T-bills, right, where you can get paid back on bonds. I mean, even if you wanted an accredited investor status, I know in the UK, if I wanted to invest in some of these real high yield investment vehicles, I need to prove that I've got at least £1 million just lying in a bank account, or say invested in assets that's not home equity. You have to be very, very rich to access some of these assets. And imagine that someone from Venezuela who's looking to save up for a house but can't do it in their own currencies, as you said, because of the inflation. I think it's a wonderful solution, and I think more people should be speaking about it. I know at Token 2049 Singapore just last week, you had something like 3 different panels on the main stage dedicated to tokenization. It's an amazing topic, really.
Yeah. I mean, back to Bradley's point, I mean, basically it's opening it up to the entire world of assets, because crypto is very niche. It's, specific to just digital assets. But as soon as you start to bring the real world on chain, first of all, I mean, think about like BlackRock. When Larry says something like, the tokenization is going to be the biggest thing that happens, this is coming from the horse's mouth. Like, he knows this stuff. So, this is literally tokenizing every single asset in the world. The possibilities are literally endless. So.
And I'll chime in too, because I come from the more degen side of just my background, and Alec kind of came in the same way as well, but I came in on NFTs. And I don't know why, but early on, before NFTs really even took off, before Bored Apes were like worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, one of the things that I was thinking first, which a lot of people were thinking, is why do people want to buy these on-screen JPEGs? Like, do nothing for you IRL, like in real life. But if you are or were a part of an NFT project around the time, the value add was just, it gave you access to a wealth of just a really good community of people, right? But at one point, like, even that wasn't enough. And so early on, like, I was thinking, I'm like, dang, like, we need something like more tangible, and that's what made RWAs like interesting for me when I came in, because I was already thinking, like, if these things are going to be on chain, like, people at the end of the day love real things, right? And RWAs, or just putting things on chain, can make our lives so much easier. Like, I'm a huge collector, like shoes or bear bricks and things like that. And just like imagining some of those things being on chain, which are they're slowly like creeping over into crypto and blockchain, right? But like, imagine if these things were on chain, and then you could like verify them and make sure that they're authentic. And we're seeing this happen, but I feel like RWAs just in general is way ahead.
And it really has the potential for communities to crowdfund big ventures. I mean, if you think about it, right, going to the moon or something. Let's say everyone wants to sort of have, I don't know, they want to put something on the moon. Imagine that you could crowdfund your own country's space program, something that obviously they can't justify in terms of tax budgets, right? But imagine if you could sort of own a token of a shuttle, and you could, I don't know, put your own selfie on it or something, and have this giant community shuttle shoot off to the moon, and it's all community funded. And we could have so many of those interesting kind of initiatives that the ordinary people want, that aren't kind of government sanctioned. It's quite sort of democratizing in that way. So I think it's
going to the moon, literally, not yeah. So that's pretty epic, right? I mean, honestly, I think back to what Mark was saying, like the volatility of NFTs, like the speculation side, I think that can kind of get like a bad rap. But like in general, volatility and speculation are good things. They drive asset prices. But the thing is like what's underlying the actual value. So if the underlying value is just, people who think it's valuable, that can waver. But if you have an actual physical asset behind the NFT, this is where all of a sudden it's like you don't really have to believe in gold necessarily or in commodities or things like that because like there's an underlying physical asset behind it.
It's like I think in many ways, like early social media eventually became just a part of life. And now you go to an event and there's like all these, tripods, people recording themselves. It's like, shoot, like we kind of live halfway on the internet, halfway IRL, right?
True.
Especially in LA. Yeah.
Especially in LA.
Yeah.
Especially in LA.
Yeah,
So
it's crazy.
I think it's gonna be the same thing for like it's the same thing for crypto now, right? Where the real world and this digital magic internet money are gonna start to like meet somewhere in the middle.
Well, this is interesting for investors as well, because imagine if you're watching this podcast, right? You're a sort of degen trader or whatever, and you're looking for new ways to make money. Crypto is the best place to make money in the long term because we need to realize that adoption is only about 8% globally. I think Chainalysis did their own crypto adoption index of 2025, and I think it's only 8%. Imagine if that number was as high as smartphone adoption, right? 60, 70%. Imagine if everyone who was using smartphones, adults that are using smartphones, using crypto. You're talking about, 7 times that populace. And so you've got huge potential to make money on this. And everyone's looking for that sort of next new thing to invest in. So I think, for example, right, Lumia's chain or, Lumia's coin is going to be used as sort of the gas fee in this brand new kind of Ethereum of RWA. So if you buy something like, Lumia, I think it's a very good investment. This is not investment advice at all, but you see what I'm getting at? So RIs have so much potential to sort of earn money on as well as the value of these things skyrockets, demand skyrockets, and it inevitably will, I think. I mean, what would you guys tokenize if we're getting crazy? Do you think you could tokenize your own social media profile? I think projects have tried to do that.
Definitely.
That's crazy.
Pretty sure you could.
Yep.
Yeah. Endless possibilities, really. I mean, yeah.
I think the real challenge, especially for product builders, right, is
No,
like,
I was gonna say something. I just when you said what would you tokenize, I believe somebody had tokenized naming their kid or something like that. Like people had
Oh wow,
paid
I didn't see that one.
for the right to name this guy's child. Imagine
Yeah.
somebody paid for the right to name your child. They pay hundreds of thousands of dollars and they name them something crazy, But like,
Yeah.
it's funny that you said that because that's the first thing I was like, dang, somebody. I really remember hearing a story of somebody tokenizing the right to name their child.
You definitely don't want to have the internet name your kid. That's for sure.
Definitely not.
When I was young, I had this startup idea actually. When I was probably like 13, and I thought, what if you could make it so that people can own numbers and it's stored on this kind of decentralized ledger online? And everyone made fun of me, but it's so funny that those moments when you see this startup idea, this stupid startup you had, maybe 20 years ago or whatever, and you're kind of seeing it play out before your eyes, because that's what it is. We're talking about tokenizing things that have never been possible before. Since when could you give somebody in rural Brazil, right, who's part of a tribe and only just has a smartphone, access to these high value, high yield generating assets that are only accessible via millionaire accredited investors? I just think the possibilities are endless here. But anyway, also, we spoke previously. What do you think is the problem then? I mean, this is a big problem for me. Is if this has been such a good idea, why hasn't it happened already?
This is kind of what I was going to do before. The challenge with product builders and just building products, right? How I think about crypto, again, comparing it to other innovative industries and stages. How many people drive cars? How many people understand the mechanics of an engine, right? Very few people understand the mechanics of an engine as opposed to the amount of people that drive cars.
Exactly.
There are millions of people that use the internet every single day that have no idea how it works, actually. like actually they have no idea how, like what happens to make the internet a thing, nothing about coding, how, how websites and apps are put together. So I think as much as we've tried and I've seen over the last 4 years, bring the get the normies into crypto, get the normies in there. They don't want to come into crypto. They don't want to. We have to meet them where they're at. And I think that's the sort of the challenge with product building. Is like, how do you make it so simple? Like we were saying on the last stream, where grandma can get it. Like that's always, in my opinion, like that's the target customer is grandma. Like,
I think there's kind of two different approaches, right? So, eventually, look at the reason, what you were saying, Brad, like why hasn't this already kind of started? In my opinion, basically the regulatory environment wasn't right for that kind of fundamentals to be in place, because these huge asset managers aren't going to risk their billions and trillions of dollars if for some reason, like the government is going to hit them with a major fine, right? So now that that's starting to change in a really massive way, we're starting to get that foundation for when these asset managers can come in, and banks and central banks and things like that. And so basically at this point now, as soon as we have these types of people in, they're the ones who are taking your grandma's 401k and investing it, and then they're going to be investing it into the assets that are the RWAs, the major cryptocurrencies, because this is how they've taken the time to understand crypto at this point now, and so they want to give more yield to themselves and to grandma, and so this is the route that they're going to take.
do you have anything with it? I don't know. Everything you're thinking.
No, that's well, I mean, it's completely right. I mean, the regulatory environment didn't allow for it before now, so.
Yeah. But then the other side of it is the cool apps, the cool dApps that are going to be onboarding people in a way that there's dApps that are going to be popular in a few years that don't even exist now. And so this is like where the innovation comes in, where we're able to literally take an idea and put all the pieces together with the new technology that's constantly evolving, and create products that are going to serve people in a way that feels natural, in a way that they don't have to understand the transactions per second, or the blockchain that it's on, or anything. Kind of like you were saying about the cars, right? Same thing with iPhone, same thing with the internet. It's just going to feel natural instead of like having to know all the ins and outs of how it works.
100%.
Yeah, I think it's so. We all kind of understand. RWA is, I think, like the most easily understandable thing in crypto, because we all understand the real world and assets. And obviously, there's a lot of great examples of using RWAs or tokenizing real estate as one of the more like common examples to even fix like disaster relief areas. Let's say that like the Palisades here in LA, right? Or Hawaii, right? And all of the damage that's happened there. And I always break down things in crypto. I'm sure Wilson knows this from the incubation standpoint. I always break it down into like two things. Like there's two things that all projects live and die on, and that's attention and liquidity, right? And like you can have attention, and it doesn't always translate to liquidity. You can have liquidity, it doesn't always translate to attention. So I feel like we're doing our part, right? We're trying to get attention into people just understanding into this. We're trying to RWA build people, right? Like we're all little trench soldiers, kind of like that's our fight. But now, like, all right, cool, we got the eyeballs in. How do we get the liquidity in? How do we get these people to actually like, put their money where their mouth is, I guess, or where like they actually can get involved with this? And I know that's a huge challenge, obviously, right? It's like you can build the product, we can get the eyeballs, we can like really try to push this narrative as a more sustainable way of growing our industry. But how do we actually get the liquidity in? Is it from the government? Is it from financial institutions? Is it from TradFi, Wall Street? Like, what's the mix-up? How do we actually get this done? I guess
this is a really interesting conversation I had with Wilson about it. Is it's why do we need dApps? Honestly, why do we need this whole ecosystem of products? Because an ROA chain can tokenize things like bonds, invoices, gold, or real estate. But if those tokens just sit in wallets idle, there's no kind of on-chain demand loop. I mean, without usage, there's no fees, right? There's no liquidity, community engagement, and there's not really any reason for investors and to stay. So I think having dApps within the ecosystem, and I think Wilson can speak more to this, things like lending protocols, liquidity hubs, dexes, insurance vaults, maybe even some kind of secondary markets. These all convert those static tokens into productive capital, which creates that liquidity, which creates that kind of on-chain demand loop. Wilson, maybe you want to talk about the sort of products that we've got within the Lumia ecosystem, because that's also quite
we definitely can. I think just from a little bit of a higher level, I mean, the cool positioning for an RWA chain in particular is we're the bridge between Web 2 and Web 3 in a way that we kind of always wanted, right? Because for many years we would say, oh, like we're trying to bring the next billion users, or we're trying to bring Web 2 to Web 3, but there was never like outside of things like NFTs or meme coins, it never really stuck or like lasted really. But we're in a situation where Web 2 still has the liquidity, right? So you look at like the huge banks, you look at like all the asset managers or anything outside of crypto, they have a lot more liquidity. But in crypto, we have the opportunities, we have the yield assets, we have the the transparency, we have a lot of different features that doesn't exist in Web 2. So finding a way to actually bring these assets on chain is kind of the massive part that is going to get, like you were saying, Alec, have the liquidity from Web 2 come into Web 3.
For sure. Oh, I did want to do a quick little reminder because we didn't announce it live here.
Yeah.
And we haven't been looking at the chat as much. So let me pull up the chat
Real quick.
We're gonna pull
Let's
up
see
the
what
chat.
we're saying in the chat.
Yeah, let's see what the chat is saying. What's good, chat? Oh god, the sun glare is a little crazy here, guys. Give me 1 sec.
Are they saying good things about
There we go.
Hey,
Oh,
what's
wondering
going
why
on,
we
man?
have
Art, Chris, what's going on?
let me,
Tricks?
while we're at it, while we're
See,
we're about to
Prince.
announce this, but ransom was our ransom
Ransom's been getting
base
paid out
ETH
here.
was the last winner. And just apologizing now, just and thank you for your patience for the whole process. But yeah, he did receive, or they did receive their Lumia. And we're excited about it. So just wanted to put that out there that our last winner did receive their Lumia.
Yes,
Go ahead.
and we are doing another $100 Lumia giveaway. Whether you're joining on Eva stream, Faded stream, the main Lumia page count. Here's how we're gonna do it. Obviously, we're paying attention to the chat. Sorry we haven't been seeing you guys for a little bit. The sun glare here, like I said, a little crazy. A little bit of a new setup.
That LA sunshine.
We're getting used to it, right? We're working.
Yeah.
We're rolling with the punches. We gotta do what we gotta do. GM, PT, Zyme, everybody in the chat.
Oh, looks like it's
It brings
aggregating all of our chats. Hey guys,
Hey.
good to see you.
Awesome. And then
so
I already got some good questions too.
Yeah, we'll go through some of the questions. Make sure you guys are liking, reposting, no matter where you're watching the stream. Try to get some good clips. Post those out there too. We'll select the winner towards the end again, right? And we'll go through and pay attention to who's in the chat, who's been posting and resharing. A lot of really good information here. So our goal is to help educate people on this entire ecosystem, how they can get involved, not just as a trader or a degen, but perhaps as a builder, perhaps as a creator. So something I think would be interesting to segment into, right? As far as like, yes, we get the dApps, right? We got the attention. We're doing our job as best as possible to get the eyeballs in.
Yep.
We're tapping into retail through the dApps. There's now there's regulatory clarity for institutions and potentially governments to get involved now. So that sort of helps solve a little bit of that liquidity gap. But now how do people get involved, right? Like how does someone just watching this, they're like, all right, cool, I'm learning a bunch of stuff, but like how do I actually apply it? And I'd love to hear, like, obviously there's different perspectives we can cover this on, like as marketers or creators or builders. What if somebody has their own product idea? They might not have the technical proficiency, but they want to work with Lumia getting this out there. I think those are all really interesting things. And as far as like value to anyone that's actually watching right now and taking notes.
No, awesome. for anybody that is looking to or is interested in RWAs and building on Lumia, my personal Twitter account is mherndon37, or you can just DM the main page as well, just to get in contact with us. And there's other ways.
Me as well. Feel free, of course.
Yeah, feel free to reach out to us. I myself started on the ground level, started with nothing, and was just a viewer, was just somebody in the audience on a, back then it was Twitter, what was it?
Spaces.
Twitter Spaces. Back then it was Twitter Spaces. And, basically just asked a whole bunch of questions and sent some DMs, and, some of them landed, some of them didn't. And here I am today. So it's like, everybody that is watching, just know that, one day that you might be on the other end, and the one teaching, the one streaming, the one educating and or building. But we are interested in reaching and talking to all of our builders out there. Anybody that is watching and interested in building on Lumia, or interested in learning more how to build on Lumia, definitely reach out. But I'll let Wilson talk a bit more, and then I would love to get into some of the things that Lumia, just a tad bit of.
Sure, yeah, of course. So, yeah, I mean, basically, your story is awesome, Mark, and I've heard others, somewhat similar, where they just joined the community. They were very active. They showed a lot of interest. They had a lot of passion, and they, eventually became team members. And look at yourself now, like you're, crushing it. So, I think this is a beautiful way to get started. Is just be like a passionate community member. And when it comes to people who have ideas, like they have a very specific project that they want to build, I think this is exactly where the Lumia Accelerator program comes in. So we have helped and are currently helping projects get to market. So it depends on the different stage that they're at, but like we're helping from multiple different areas. So this is projects can come in if they just have an idea and they have a lot of conviction and a very strong team. And other projects already have, a lot of things basically already built, and they just need support with, like connections and things like that. So we help across like the full spectrum of people who would want to build and participate in Lumia. So, I think our expertise within RWAs and just general within crypto has helped our builders a lot. And we're going to be, showcasing some of these projects, very soon. So I'm excited. When it comes to like the actual projects, kind of like the two that were, are the foundations for everything to come. It's going to be the DEX, our trading terminal, which is, going to be a massive project. That's Morphex, which is it's literally the first universal market, because what it's doing is connecting TradFi and DeFi in a way that hasn't been done before. So this is an extremely it's going to be a very massive project. So really happy for people to take a look at it once it's live fully. And then the next project is Hyperlaunch. So Hyperlaunch is a platform that is it's the launch pad that is going to be catered towards builders who want to do IDOs, people who want to do fair launches, memes, creator tokens, all these different things wrapped into one platform. So that's a very high level, just a little teaser there.
No, this is cool. Just kind of reviewing a little bit more here on Hyperlaunch. So social launching across any social media platform, X, Telegram.
There's a tweet.
Oh, the tweet.
Yeah. Share a link or something. Yeah.
Hyperlaunch tweet.
Yeah, we can pull up the actual tweet. It's from this morning.
But yeah, one of the interesting things about Hyperlaunch is the ability for community members and anyone really to jump in and launch a token straight from social media. So you've seen this maybe in a couple other projects, but the actual options of where you can launch is going to be a lot larger than these other projects. So launching from X, launching from Telegram, from Discord, and a few other projects or a few other platforms in the works as well.
All right, it's gonna boom. All right, Lumia is about to tear down the barriers for creators and communities. Okay. Soon launching, a token will be as easy as posting on Telegram, X, or Discord. On Telegram, token launch will feel like starting a chat. on X, token launches will feel like a post, write it, share it, and your token takes off. Discord, same thing. Hyper launch is coming. I guess what's a couple of different questions on this, right? Time frame wise, how far out are we on this? And then second thing is, I guess, what is the user capture or experience? I guess what do you think the biggest problem is that's getting solved with something like this? Obviously, accessibility, I think, is one of them. I can think off the top of my head. But just like other practical use cases for people out there that might want to actually utilize the product for their own launches.
So to your point, right? You were saying attention is like one of the biggest things you can possibly have, right? In general. So this opens up people's ability to get attention for their idea in a way that, it's very seamless. And there's not any other platform that's allowing people to do this on the, the different types of platforms that we're able to offer. So I think this is, a very unique solution for people to come in, try to get the attention from the community about their idea, whether it be a creator token, a project that they want to kind of start building for. This is the solution, essentially.
And then we can kind of segue into this next part, because you're talking about two of the dApps or two of the products that Lumia is coming out with. Just a question to you, or even to Bradley, or everybody. How important are dApps on chains or for chains?
Bradley, you want to jump in?
Yeah, sure. So I think I pretty much answered this last time I spoke about sort of why we need dApps. Look, you don't want tokens to sit idle, right? So if there aren't any component dApps, or rather ecosystem projects within that sort of full stack RWA chain, you're not really going to have any demand for Lumia in terms of fees, right? There's going to be low liquidity because no one's really moving anything, and you don't have that community engagement because you don't have speculative investors getting involved with the token as well. And you don't have any reason for those investors to stay around, right? They might even forget about it. So we need a sort of thriving, bustling ecosystem of products to keep people inside and one chain. And also interoperability is a really big topic here, right? You think of interoperability as the fact that it's a big problem because chains can't really communicate with each other. You have Ethereum and blockchain, Ethereum blockchain and Bitcoin blockchain, and these two haven't been able to communicate with each other for a very long time. You've had things like wrapped Bitcoin or bridges that's susceptible to hacking, and it's very difficult to sort of deploy Bitcoin's full potential on Ethereum so people can use it with dApps on Ethereum. So what we're thinking about is we're looking at that, learning from the lessons of the past and building one singular blockchain with all these different things on it. So we've got this bustling ecosystem that can really give the RWA infrastructure that we're giving kind of light in the system. So yeah, I think it's all about liquidity, really. I think if we're looking for an answer, it's about liquidity.
So I wanted to bring us back to full screen here. If we have any questions in the chat, if you guys feel free to drop them in. We'll go through, answer any questions about any of the products, whether that's Hyperlaunch or Morphex. Morphex is sort of the trading terminal, if I'm hearing that correctly. Is that also going to include any sort of TradFi elements or like perpetual?
Yeah, of course. So that's the fundamental component of Morphex. So it's bridging both TradFi and DeFi. So all of the projects that are launched on Hyperlaunch will come into Morphex as they graduate. So similar to the mechanics of how Pump Fund does, where they have their bonding curve mechanism, where there's trading, and then once it hits a certain threshold, it graduates. So with Lumia, this is the connection for Hyperlaunch and those tokens graduating to Morphex. So that's the kind of the Web3 side of things, the crypto side of things. And when it comes to TradFi, we are opening up pools, and we'll have some really interesting campaigns that happen that are going to be attracting the RWA tokens. So gold and all these different types of assets will be in that same universal market for when you go to the Morphix platform, you'll see all the different ways that you can trade.
And then since we're coming up here on time, and I want to leave some time, a bit of time left, just to answer some questions and engage with the chat. Just as far as like Lumia compared just to any of the other RWA chains or chains that's similar and doing some of the similar things that we're doing. Just in your own personal thoughts, Wilson and/or Bradley, how do you think we are creating an edge for ourselves or standing out in just like this huge, like now that everybody's starting to kind of come into the RWA space and pay attention to things that we're doing, how do you think we are creating an edge or standing out in the noise?
I can probably give my 2 cents on this. As someone that came into the project a bit later, sort of not one of the founding members. So I actually had the chance to review this very, very early on. And you'll hear names, rocking around. I think you've got Ondo, you've got Mantra, Red Belly's another one, Securitize, but they're sort of mainly with securities, tokeny centrifuges. I mean, the list goes on. And, it does beg the question, sort of why Lumia? Why isn't it going to be another chain that's got, say, more funding or more whatever? And so, it's a good question, because why would you invest in Lumia when you could just invest in any other coins that are being minted by these blockchains that are coming up? It's very difficult. It's almost like crypto for the first time, and you have to choose one of these coins. Which one do you know is going to be the best? And it comes down to a few things, really. And we're all very, very confident about Lumia because it's really one of its own class. If you look at even the stack, right? It's got a very, very competitive stack architecture. It combines zero knowledge EVMs, and roll-up architecture, leverages Polygon's SDK, it uses Avail DA. You've got a private DAC, things like account abstraction as well. And I think recently we mentioned about pessimistic proofs too, which is really big on Polygon right now. And you've got this very competitive stack that can handle the throughput that's needed. Because if we're talking about RWAs at scale, the biggest question is it going to be able to manage the throughput? If something scales up overnight from 0 to 100, are there going to be errors? Because it's almost like this chain has the one chance to make it big, because when there is that push, when there is that hype, are they going to be able to manage, or is that hype going to then port to different chains that can maybe do it better? So Lumia works very, very hard on its stack architecture from day one. And that is what it's been doing. It's why it's a very long-winded project, because a lot of it is happening on the back end. I think liquidity is a really big thing as well. I think actually it's more important than the stack, because ultimately users will flock to the place where exists the most liquidity, right? If they're looking to trade these tokens, that belong to different kind of real world assets, they want to go where it's most liquid, right? They can trade quickly without friction and know that they're always going to be able to sell their assets whenever they want. Liquidity is something that's innate to Lumia, and we're going to have the best liquidity on the market. You'll probably notice that we spend a lot of time in DC, especially Cal, who had to run off for a meeting in DC. And what's really big about Lumia is it's the US chain, centered US, licensed in the US. And for a market that's tend to be quite on the fence about crypto, Lumia is firmly within regulatory clasp in the US, and it's regulated. It's got licensing. So I think that's another big part. And then as part of the liquidity question, you've also got ecosystem support. We've got Hyperlaunch as a sort of accelerator, but there's this massive community around all these different ecosystem projects, and quests to Lumia invests massively in things like developer support. And also there's real boots on the ground. I almost forgot to mention Lumia Towers by Sen. This is a real thing that you can look up, and you can see drone footage of this massive skyscraper in East London just coming up stage by stage, month by month. That's Lumia. This is going to be a Lumia with a Send project where you're going to be able to purchase tokenized shares in a building, right? A skyscraper. For the first time ever, this is happening. It's a huge project, and I even, at Cointelegraph we wrote something about it. It's massive. Got it in Forbes. And this is another thing. This is a real proven project. Lumia is one of the first chains to really go out there and say, okay, let's prove this. This is the theory, but anyone can do the theory. Anyone can, go get funding, raise money for a startup, and then build some infrastructure. But Lumia's genuinely got boots on the ground in Turkey, building this $220 million infrastructure project to say, this is how much we believe in it. And that's the only project in the space to do it. So, my conclusion here is, it's the biggest, it's the best regulated, it's got the best liquidity, the most competitive stack, and there's this off $220 million skyscraper to show that it works. So I think that's a good answer.
No, nice.
Incredible.
Oh, go ahead, Wilson, if you have some stuff to add.
No, that literally, I mean, I'm trying to think of ways I could add to it, but Bradley did an amazing job. Yeah.
And yeah, just to add on to Bradley hinted at it, but yeah, Cal is in DC right now, and I do think that's could be counted as an edge, or counted as how we're separating ourselves as being a part of the conversations that are going to regulate, crypto and/or what we're doing in this space here in the U.S. at least, and that's what everybody, like, not just the U.S. but most people around the world are looking at, even the U.K. But I think I did see that the U.K. and the U.S. are working on crypto regulation together now. But like even the U.K. was looking at the U.K. or the U.S. to see like what would we do and how we're going to go about it. Everybody's like, all eyes are on us, and so if the U.S. is able to do it in a way that benefits and benefits us, just know that Lumia is a part of these conversations that's being had, and that's why we were in DC weeks ago, and why Cal is in DC as of right now in a meeting while we're having this live. So
exactly. And it's regulatory, clarity that we're, helping the industry, helping, Lumia's path forward, and not just in DC in the US, like, we're working with multiple governments, in different countries. So this is a situation where we're getting ahead of the curve. We're helping shape the kind of regulations that are coming. And this is, we're making it like a win-win, because it's great to have regulations and these things in place, but if they're not, created in a way that, are reasonable and benefit both sides, then it's actually not the kind of deal that we were looking for. So we're helping, make it be like a very favorable, environment for crypto going forward.
Nice. And Wilson, I don't know if you can see the chat as well, but if
let me look.
Yeah, definitely go through
It's a little
the
tough
chat.
for us right now.
Yeah, because I would love for
New to
you
the platform, but yeah.
I'd love for you to answer any questions that are on there. You can just scroll through. There's some from earlier, and there's some going on currently right now. And so chat, anybody in the chat, anybody that's tuning in right now live, would love for you to ask some questions. We'd love for you to engage, because we are going to do a $100 Lumia giveaway towards the end. I'll be picking somebody from the chat. Last winner was ransom.eth, and I see him in here, or I see them in here grinding again.
Yep.
Oh, Eva, launch a talk.
It says hello. Hey,
Hey.
thanks for dropping into the chat. Happy to have you here.
Yep. I'm seeing some other familiar faces from the last one too.
Nice.
I see a Ista.
Prince.
Oh yeah, Prince. But
Cool.
But yeah, Wilson, if there's any questions on there that you like to answer, we'd love to answer some of these. So we.
Yeah, I mean, what's the hardest challenge, for building Lumia? I think it's not any one piece. It's literally the fact that we are doing so many things at once, and everything has to kind of line up to create the project that is in our minds. So when it comes to the ecosystem side, there's that in itself has so many different subcomponents of all the different projects, and I think the different founders that we're working with to make their projects as successful as possible. And then when it comes to the tech, Dennis is doing an incredible job piecing together all the best things, because we're a modular blockchain. We're able to take the best of what's out there and make our stack as impressive as possible. And then when it comes to the legal side, everything. So this takes like a huge amount of coordinated effort from our team to make this happen. So it's kind of the total orchestration of everything that is kind of like the hardest part.
I did want to. There's one thing I wanted to hit on because for some reason it finally all hit. I'm sitting here, I'm reading Lumia, the only full cycle RWA chain, and the fact that you're describing Hyperlaunch as basically the top of funnel into Morphex, right? So if we compare, let's say, across other chains, just so that people can sort of translate it, is let's say Hyperlaunch is pump fund, and then the Morphex would be pump swap, right?
Yeah.
Or for Binance, Hyperlaunch would be like for meme, and then Morphex would be like Binance Alpha or like Aspen, right? Where it's like sort of that next step. And I guess one of the biggest criticisms, not to get into controversy, but one of the biggest criticisms that Pump Fund has always had was like, they're not doing anything for the community. They're making all this money on fees, and we get nothing back for us. Like, so I was just curious. I don't know. You might have touched on it a little bit earlier, but are there any social incentives for people that are getting involved at this early, right? That are like taking that leap of faith. And like, what does that look like? Like what could, as anything in crypto, people want to speculate.
Yeah.
People want to speculate. So like, I mean, I don't know what you can reveal, but you can kind of
Sure. I can touch base on that. I mean, basically, the fact that these other projects have launched publicly before Hyperlaunch is giving us an advantage to take a look and see what they've done and match and surpass them. And so when it comes to things like rewards and it comes to incentives for projects and founders and community members as well who are trading, we have taken a very extensive look at the market, and we're going to be exceeding in all the different areas. So when it comes to fees, we're going to be giving back a lot of the fees to the community members in a way it's going to be pretty impressive, and people are going to be excited to launch because they're going to see the value that comes back to them, and they're going to grow communities around it. Also, we have fun campaigns that are in place that will be giving like weekly rewards, monthly rewards. So this is something that we absolutely understand the landscape of these different projects, competitors and things like that, and we're going to make sure that Lumia is on top.
So yeah, no, it makes sense. And like any eco, the people who usually see the greatest outsized returns are the ones old enough to be early.
100%.
Nah, awesome. And then as we get ready to close, I'm gonna be going through the chat, but I would love to get some like closing remarks from either you or Bradley. It could just be about crypto in a whole, or it could be about Lumia specifically. But we'd just love to get some closing remarks as I go through the chat to see who is going to be the winner of the $100 Lumia giveaway.
Yeah, go ahead, Bradley.
I suppose I can go first. Look, guys, I've got a very broad view of crypto. I have my hands in a variety of different pots, and especially coming off the back of Token in Singapore, and shortly after that, Bitcoin reached its new all-time high. Everybody is talking about real-world assets. It's in the conversations, in panels, fireside chats, interviews, even at the after party. Everyone is speaking about it. And it's almost like we're waiting for a provider to do it right. Lumia is this provider. It just needs time, and it's not long now at all. And I think the world is very quickly catching up at a regulatory pace. I think just as we saw, sweeping regulatory acts like MiCA or Genius in the US, the next wave of regulatory attention is going to be centered on RWAs, because this is something that gives crypto intrinsic value. And I remember we had a previous chat about NFTs and the fact that everyone was saying there's no intrinsic value. I think it was Warren Buffett that said Bitcoin has no intrinsic value. Finally, crypto has a use in the real world, and this is what's going to onboard that additional 62% of people, if you listen to my earlier figure about crypto adoption. It's exciting. So these are my closing remarks.
Yeah, amazing. From like the big picture, when it comes to Lumia specifically, if you are passionate about an idea that you would love to see come to fruition, hit us up. Like Mark said, message him directly, me directly, Lumia page. This is, we want to help strong builders go to market, and this is our passion, and we have the experience and network and resources to make it happen. So feel free to reach out. Once we have our projects, fully live, we're going to be, creating a big buzz around them. So be on the lookout for those types of announcements, and you can participate in any capacity. Join the chats and be active, and we'll be letting everyone know.
All right. So
You gotta pick the winner now?
yeah, I'm gonna pick the winner. But if there's anything you want to say, I'm seeing
I think it's
Zimi.
I would
Zimi,
guess
are
it's
you
Zimi.
there?
Yeah.
I've been seeing you in the chat.
Yeah, it looks like she's been there.
Oh,
Yeah,
is she
okay.
still Zimi? You still here?
You gotta be okay. How about this? Plot twist. Plot twist. You have to be active in the chat right now. Any chat doesn't matter.
You have to be able to.
Oh, she's here.
She's here.
Okay, she's here.
Let's go.
She's here. She's still here. All right, well, Zimi, if I'm saying your name correctly, I hope I am. I'm sorry if I'm butchering it, but yeah, Zimi seems to be this week's $100 Lumia winner. Please DM the page, the Lumia, the official Lumia account. You have to be following, and we will get back to you. And yeah, thank you guys. Definitely, this was a great show today, and thank you, Wilson. Thank you, Bradley, for joining. Thank you, Eva. I would love for you to just say bye because there was a tweet earlier. Yeah, Eva's chat was crazy, and somebody put the whole thing into words, but they're saying everybody's here for you. So we'd love for you to speak to your crowd. Yeah, your people are here.
I appreciate everybody who showed up today to support Lumia, to support me, to support all of us, to learn more about RWAs. Especially it's a little early for us, so everybody who did show up, we appreciate you even more. I'm just glad there was a lot of visibility today.
Awesome.
More RWA stream soon? Question mark.
Yeah.
More
100%.
We'll definitely be back. This is something that you guys can continue to look forward to. Excited to keep this thing going for you guys. Hope you enjoyed the show, and that's peace.
Bye guys. Thank you so much again.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Zimi, don't forget to message the page, please.
Oh.